The Sea Beast. Weigh anchor, everyone, because it's time to set sail onto Netflix. And a really awkward time to do so as well, considering how they're having their worst year financially so far, got called out for running their animation division very poorly to the point of scaring away creators, canceling numerous of projects without even giving them a chance, and have been kicking out hundreds of their employees, including several animators. And that doesn't even include the really controversial stuff. Anyways, regardless of how bad things are going there, they still have a good amount of animated content prepared for the platform, including a brand new epic adventure brought to us by Chris Williams. For animation fans, you probably remember him more as the Disney veteran who worked as a story artist in many of their features, along with having directorial credits on Bolt, Big Hero 6, and Moana, and being the voice of Oaken in Frozen.
Big summer blowout, half-off swimming suits, clogs, and a sunbalm of my own invention, yeah?
But after around 20 years with the studio, he felt like it was time to board his own boat and bring to life a story that is far bigger than the ocean itself and the possible creatures that inhabit them. So now that it's time to tell the monster hunting tales of Jacob and Macy, will this movie be as grand as the sea beasts themselves? Or will the ship sink lower than Netflix's stocks? Let's find out. The story. I might as well start by talking about the first impression that many people have when they first witness this feature, that it feels strikingly similar to DreamWorks' How to Train Your Dragon. And I'll say right now that even when watching the whole movie, yes, it certainly does. However, I wouldn't necessarily say that it's initially a bad thing. Actually, I think that's an element that makes the feature work. In a way, the movie is as if you replace dragons and Vikings with sea monsters and pirates, yet it still retains the excitement that makes the film engaging for the same reasons, but still feel original, like it's accomplishing its own thing. Like Dragon, one of the most admirable aspects of the movie is the world building. How it is set in a time where pirates are more respected figures as they help hunt monsters that reside in the ocean to save the people on land. This opens up the opportunity for several intense action scenes when the crew of the ship, Inevitable, battle against fierce beasts and do whatever they can to survive and strike down their target. And what's additionally great about them is that they emphasize that this is a pirate movie. While they may not be treasure hunting, all the swashbuckling moments make this feel like a perfect fit to the genre, and most of the settings are in the usual pirate places like the sea, an island, and on the Inevitable itself. I'll say right now that the action alone is worth watching the feature to have a new sense of fun that is rare to find in animation. But then the Sea Beast enters its second half, and while the action aspect helps strengthen the whole film, that's when the ship starts to noticeably sink. Why? Well, as it has some comparisons to How to Train Your Dragon, there is another significant factor that it also emulates. Yes, just like Dragon, and I'd even throw in some giant monster movies like King Kong, the main characters come to the realization that the sea monsters are not as bad as what they previously thought and change their mission to protect them from their former allies. I'll admit that I never thought of the story itself to be the movie's strongest suit. The moments when Maisie tries to rebelliously go on her own adventure alongside Jacob are genuinely weaker than the more action-packed times, but when she starts forming a bond with these creatures, that's when the plot becomes unenthusiastically transparent and the outcomes to what these characters would go through turn out obvious. It's almost like it went from a pirates movie to just another save the animals type of family film, even including comedy that's aimed for kids, but aren't necessarily that effective and can seem a little out of place, kind of like it was demanded to exist by an executive.
But I already named it.
Let me guess. Blue.
Also, by the end of the film, when the movie lays its message, how it delivers it feels a little too preachy and makes the picture resolve a little too well. Like, it ended off on a too happy ending, if you get what I mean. I won't slam the message itself of stop fighting, and I do like the added twist of including a commentary regarding historic revisionism and how they're controlled by political leaders, but again, there should have been more work on the execution to feel more genuine than being heavy-handed. This is an interesting case of a story. The plot itself is not great, and it can often feel a little too dependent on How to Train Your Dragon. However, I cannot deny that I did get invested with the elements that did work, like the action and the world building. So while I don't admire the writing, it did technically succeed in what it wanted to accomplish. The animation. It's funny how this was directed by a Disney veteran, because the animation, more than anything else, feels like it was the most influenced by Disney's modern style. However, unlike the story, where the dragon comparisons are a double-edged sword, the style manages to give something both fresh and familiar with no drawbacks that hinders the experience. What makes the visuals the most Disney-esque is the highly detailed grand scale. The way the film makes its environment feel massive, but still include tons of small details within to help bring the designs to life. This is the most prominent with the backgrounds and the production design. To embolden the pirate genre, the whole movie is set during the start of the 18th century. But there is a fantastical twist where the pirates not only have a more important role, but the villages and kingdoms have to work around living with giant sea monsters. At the same time, the level of detail that surrounds the places is astonishing, where that plays into the riches of the king and queen's kingdom, how the inevitable was built to hunt monsters, and how the island serves as a natural home for the beasts. The same Disney touch can also be said regarding the characters, where their designs have a stylized look that makes it clear that this is animated, but they aren't too abstract with their style, and how they move is more grounded to emphasize how their acting is the subtle emotional core of the people.
And it would be my honor. My boy.
But if there is one component that makes itself stand out from the more recent Disney films, it's the sea beasts themselves. They really are the visual standouts of the picture, as they each have a unique design where they are given their own abilities and features to highlight that they are beyond ordinary sea creatures. At the same time, they share a common theme of bold and bright colors to pop themselves out from their surroundings that stay within the color palette of the seaside early 18th century. Most importantly, though, is that they succeed in feeling big. The massive scale that contrasts with its surrounding environments adds an extra layer to the danger of the situation, and to visually present their size compared to an ordinary person like the viewer. And of course, I can't forget how amazing they are during the action scenes, where with the addition of the admirable effects to scale up the mood with the waves of the ocean and the lighting, they play a key factor into why these moments get intense, as they let out their full creativity with all their unique features and show how they could do damage to a ship filled with panicking pirates fighting back. They even gave the viewer a nice bonus of a monster battle. It's safe to say that the best part of this movie is the animation. They make the monsters and the action epically entertaining, has that Disney level of smoothness that's carrying the emotions, and accomplished exactly what it wanted to achieve. And that is what making hunting sea beasts here look excitingly awesome. The characters. Monster hunting can sometimes only be as exciting as the hunters you're tagged along with. And when it comes to this adventure, They have some strong qualifications, but could have been better handled. The characters have some mixed results where there was some good job put into them, but the script is certainly not one of those contributors. I could tell that the actors did pretty well with voicing them and make them as emotionally relatable as possible, but the way they're written sometimes make them feel like generic archetypes. Starting with the main protagonist we primarily follow, Maisie is the rebellious little girl who always wanted to be a monster hunter. But with nothing to lose, never follows the rules, and the world around her is still new, she is the most likely to see things from new perspectives, like how there's possibly more to these monsters than what her book tells her. Basically, she's like the avatar for the young audience to see themselves in the adventure. And while she fits a lot in the kid protagonist archetype, she does give out a bit of that scrappy-do attitude where she can think she's bigger than she actually is that can get a little annoying at times.
I will be captain. Someday.
Well, I intend to get on that ship. So, if you don't mind, I'll take it up with Captain now.
Alongside her, there's Jacob Holland, one of the best hunters on the Inevitable and the next in line to be the captain of the ship. However, when stuck in a position where he has to team up with Maisie, he becomes her straight man where he acts as the adult that, despite among being the best of his field, he still has a lot to learn from the girl.
We kill them because they kill us. Do I need to remind you that one of them things took your parents? Should they have just left the monsters alone?
Many of the others, however, don't have a big role in the feature and, when present, are only shown as one-dimensional, like Sarah being the captain's loyal first mate, the king and queen being the uptight rulers that think that they could do better than anyone at everything, Blue is the cute puppy-like sidekick for the kids, and Red is the prize sea beast who is the captain's #1 target, but is the first to grow a bond with the leads. The Toothless or King Kong of the movie, if you will.
I told you she was more than a beast.
But then there's Captain Crow, possibly the most interesting character of this whole crew. As the most revered pirate who takes down sea monsters, he is also the most noble who mainly does it to make sure no one else can be harmed by the beast the same way that one of them took his eye. However, there is one in particular that he dedicates his life to capture, and that is the Red Bluster. Over time, he feels like he's getting closer and closer to capturing the beast, and the closer he is, the more desperate he becomes to accomplish his mission, turning into Captain Ahab from Moby Dick, where the monster gets the best of him and would do anything to capture Red.
To make covenant with the likes of her is against the Hunter's Code.
Yes, whatever code would buy me my revenge.
For the sake of the story, the characters aren't necessarily anything special. For the most part, they are generic tropes that use their cliches to move the plot forward. However, there is still that likability to them where they do serve well when combating against the monsters and make the action as exhilarating as it is. So, at the very least, these are characters that can get the job done. This may not be as impactful or as admirable as How to Train Your Dragon, but this does come quite close to emulate the same feeling of excitement when watching it. The Sea Beast is an awesome animated feature that can deliver a good amount of unique action and colorful monsters to make it stand out from other Netflix films. But its familiarity to other popular works does take it back from having the movie be as strong as those films. The writing may be too dependent on following the same recognizable footsteps as Dragon or King Kong, but can be forgiven for its wonderful animation, intense action scenes, and some interesting characters that all make the experience a surprisingly fun discovery on Netflix. I find it hard to imagine that many will take this over something like Dragon, but this movie will definitely be enjoyed by fans of giant monster movies. If you like films like How to Train Your Dragon, Godzilla, King Kong, and more, then this will easily grab your interest and be worth the watch. I've heard of many tales of what happens when you sail the seas, and while this may not be among my favorites, this still gets the job done to amaze and be engaged with the journey while witnessing some extraordinary monsters along the way. Just like the same feeling of excitement you get when you subscribe to my channel and watch me explore and analyze other tall tales similar to the Sea Beast. Plus, it is just on Netflix, so it's not like you're really getting out of your way to go and watch this movie. So you could just sit back, turn it on, and set sail on a suspiciously familiar, but still exciting adventure.
I want to believe that. But maybe you can be a hero and still be wrong.